June is Mental Health Month, and researchers just proved something that you probably already knew. A study published this month looked at what's actually helping men engage in their mental health. Not what therapists recommend, not what partners suggest, what's actually working. And their answer was podcasts. Not because podcasts replace the real work, but because they're an entry point. Men don't naturally sit down and say, I'm struggling. We process in motion. We absorb things while we're doing something else, like driving, working out, making coffee. The format meets us where we are instead of asking us to show up somewhere that we're not ready for yet. My name's Cody DeLong, and this is King of Me. And what I want to talk about today is the thing that stops most men from ever finding the first door, and what it's costing you. Your father probably didn't talk about his problems, certainly not in front of you and his wife. Sports coached you to just play through it. The workplace rewarded the guy who didn't need any hand-holding, and somewhere along the way you got the message. A strong man handles his own business quietly, without making it anyone else's problem. And for a long time that worked. It built things, businesses, families, careers. The ability to push through and not complain is genuinely useful. But there's a version of that same quality that turns on you, that stops being strength and starts being isolation. It keeps you from asking the question that might change everything, because asking the question feels like admitting you don't have the answers. Most men over 50 can't tell the difference between stoic and stuck. Here's what that costs you. Decisions made alone, without a second set of eyes, tend to be worse decisions. You know this. You've hired people with different skills than yours. You've consulted lawyers and accountants. But for the things that actually matter, your health, your marriage, what you want the second half of your life to look like, you're white-knuckling it solo. Health problems get caught late because you didn't want to make a big deal of it. Financial moves made from pride rather than good judgment. Relationships that eroded quietly because you wouldn't speak up and ask for what you really needed. Decisions you're still carrying alone that would take 20 minutes to think through with one honest person. I know because I've done all of it. In 2022, after a 20-year marriage had ended, I closed my business in the U.S. and moved to Portugal. And through a series of decisions that made sense at the time and look far less brilliant today, I found myself looking at a significant financial loss while living abroad in a new country where I don't speak the language. As a matter of fact, I lost nearly everything. I trusted someone I shouldn't have, and while he's doing time in prison now, that doesn't help me. I'll never get my money back. And so a lifetime of hard work, dedication, discipline, and good choices were simply stripped away. I didn't tell many people. That's the programming. You protect the image, you figure it out, you don't let on. And I am figuring it out, slowly. But the part that actually moved things wasn't white-knuckling through it alone. It was one conversation I had with a man I trust, who looked at the situation without any ego and said some things I needed to hear. That's not therapy, it's not weakness, that's a king taking counsel. History's most effective leaders, generals, founders, the men who actually built things, almost never operated alone. They had rooms of people who could tell them the truth, people they'd earned the right to be straight with. A king who takes no counsel isn't strong, he's fragile. He makes every decision with incomplete information because his ego can't afford to be wrong. That's the King of Me premise. Building the crown means building your judgment, and your judgment is only as good as the information you let in. Here's some more about what that research is actually describing. Men need a door they can walk through before they're willing to go deeper. For some men, it's a run. For some, a podcast. For some, it's a long drive alone, turning things over. The format doesn't matter as much as the fact that it meets you where you are instead of asking you to perform openness before you've built any trust. The problem isn't that men won't do the work. It's that most men are sold one door: therapy, vulnerability, talk about your feelings, and told it's the only legitimate way in. And when that door doesn't fit, they assume there's something wrong with them. There isn't. You just need the right door. So here's the actual question. Who in your life gets the real story? Not the managed version, not the all good, I'm fine, but the actual picture. What you're carrying, what you're not sure about, what's quietly not working. And if the answer is nobody, that's not a character flaw. That's what happens when you spend 25 years or more in provider mode. You get so practiced at projecting stability that even the people closest to you are operating on incomplete information. And somewhere along the way, the habit of being straight about who you actually are just faded away. Most men over 50 have this gap. Sure, they have golf buddies and work contacts and a wife they're protecting from the full picture, and they're making every significant decision of the second half of their life in a vacuum. But one honest person close in, that's not vulnerability, that's infrastructure. If you have that person, I encourage you to actually use them. Not for the easy stuff, but for the things you'd normally just white knuckle through alone. And if you don't have that person yet, you're not broken, you're just starting. And the first move isn't finding someone, it's just being honest with yourself that the gap is there. Most men won't even do that. I've put together a short self-assessment guide that goes with this video. It's called The Isolation Audit. 8 questions, takes about 5 minutes. I think you'll find it really interesting and useful. Link in the description below. The men who actually do this, who take stock of who's close to them and whether they're getting or giving any real truth, they don't do it because they're soft, they do it because they're serious. If you're starting from scratch on this, no community, no one close in, just a quiet suspicion that something's off, well, that's exactly who this channel is built for. If you've been carrying something alone longer than it deserves, this channel's for you. Stop drifting, start leading.